Okay, this lecture video will cover the graphic design resources and the minimalist poster that you're going to be creating for this first assignment. The video graphic design video resources is just a list of videos that I have found that deal with the graphic design from different places, whether YouTube, Adobe, from Canva. Canva is another design resource that you can create stuff in. I use it as inspiration for designs when I'm having a little bit of difficulty coming up with a design. But you can use that as a resource for examples, but please don't use Canva to complete any of your assignments for this class. You are going to be using Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign in this class. But again, you can use that as a resource for inspiration, but please don't use that as the place to design your pieces or your assignments for this class. Okay. So as I find more videos and more resources, this is going to be a graphic design resource page. Right now, I just have it listed as videos because that's what I started it as. But any other resources I will include here, whether it's places to find fonts, places to find images, anything that you may need for your assignments to help you. Anything that I can find in addition to my lectures, I will place here on this page. The other thing I forgot to mention too, with all of the modules, by clicking the next button, that will cycle you through everything in that module in order, and pushing the previous button will take you back to the previous item in that module as well. Okay, so that's the way everything is set up in here, the way I've set up all the modules. Okay, so again, these are just videos for you to review on your own time. Again, some of them come from Adobe, some of them come from YouTube, wherever I might find some videos that are going to be of importance or helpful for you for anything that we're working on in this class. Like I said, just to get an additional perspective on design, not just for me, but other people in the industry. And these Adobe ones here, they have an Adobe Max conference every year, and it just concluded last week. So these are the free videos or free references that they had on their website, the Adobe Max website. And if I find any more references or videos, I will pass those on to you. Okay. Okay, so your first assignment is a minimalist poster using only shapes and lines. Okay, we're going to be using Illustrator for this assignment. If you need some refresher Illustrator assignments or videos, I can post those as well. But hopefully when you took 101, you were introduced to DM101, you were introduced to Illustrator, the basics of Illustrator. I'm going to demonstrate some things in Illustrator with this first assignment. But again, this first assignment is just using shapes and lines to create a poster. Okay. So the goal of this assignment is to develop your understanding of minimalist design using only lines and geometric shapes. You will learn how to apply basic design principles and elements like balance, contrast, and unity to create a compelling visual composition that communicates a clear message or theme. Through this project, you will also become familiar with vector-based design tools and apply graphic design terminology. Okay, so there's the objectives there. So understanding how simple elements, design elements like lines and shapes can convey complex ideas. Experiment with composition, balance, and proportion. Enhance your ability to communicate visually without relying on text or images. And improve technical skills in using design software and working with professional poster dimensions. Okay. The first step is to do some research. So you're going to familiarize yourself with how minimalistic design using lines and shapes to convey ideas. So you can find inspiration using Pinterest, Google, or Dribbble. And each of those links that you see there will take you to those corresponding websites using that search term of minimalistic design. You can also use Google in general just to get inspiration, but start with those 3 links first. And then I've also created a Pinterest board myself with some examples for this assignment. So graphic design focus, pay attention to line thickness, which are an element of design, and how it creates contrast and hierarchy, principle of design. Notice how the arrangement of geometric shapes like circles, squares, triangles, and how they establish a sense of balance, rhythm, or emphasis. Document your insights, save or screenshot 3 to 5 examples that stand out to you. Take note of how the designs use these elements effectively and reflect on the impact of simplicity. Okay, so while you're going through those 3 sites there to find examples, either take screenshots of them or you can save them. If you control click on with your mouse, you can usually do a save as on an image. Sometimes you can. If you can't, you can do a screenshot of what you're finding. Okay. And you're not going to turn those screenshots in. That's just more for you. Like I had mentioned about the mood board, you're gathering inspiration for this project and any future project that you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing some research to find examples. And again, those are examples for you to hold on to reference back to in the future if you're doing a similar project or just need some inspiration. Okay. Step 2 is to conceptualize. Develop a clear theme or message for your poster and plan your design layout. So brainstorm ideas. Think about abstract or concrete themes that can be communicated through minimalism. So possible concepts include balance, chaos, harmony, growth, simplicity. Concrete ideas, technology, nature, urban life, energy, or motion. Okay, so those are just some examples. You're going to create rough sketches on paper or digitally to map out your ideas. I always say to start on paper first. That way you're getting your ideas down quickly. Thumbnail sketches get stuff quick down from what you're thinking of at the moment. If you try doing it digitally, you're going to spend a little bit more, probably spend more time trying to refine it at that point. But by sketching just on paper, you're getting ideas down, and then you can move from there going on to the computer. Line and shape interaction. Think about how varying the thickness and direction of lines, as well as the size and position of shapes, can create emphasis or flow. So that's the design principle of movement. Principles and elements of design. Experiment with proportion, so the relative size of the elements. Alignment, how lines and shapes line up. And then negative space, the empty space around the object. So you're going to do all of this step 2 in your thumbnail sketches. So I recommend starting with just paper and then a pencil. And then once you get your ideas down and you figure out which of those thumbnails that you like the best, to then take a Sharpie or some kind of marker. I usually use a Sharpie, and go over those lines. That way, when you scan it in or take a picture of it, you can use that as a template in Illustrator to draw your lines and your shapes. But again, I recommend starting on paper first and not jumping in directly into the computer to start your design. Okay. You'll spend a lot more time trying to design your thumbnail first than trying to, just do it on paper. Okay, step 3 is setting up your document in Illustrator. So we're going to be using Illustrator. This is going to be 11 by 17 poster. So it can be portrait or landscape. The resolution should be 300. And you're going to work in CMYK. Okay, and I'll show you how to set that up in a few minutes. And then design. So you're going to build your poster by applying principles of minimalism with lines and shapes only. Start with lines based on your thumbnails. So use thick and thin lines to create visual hierarchy and lead the viewer's eyes. So your lines can be vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. So think of, like I said, with the zigzag pattern, how to lead your eye through a design. So you can do like a zigzag line, horizontal line, vertical, or diagonal line. Straight versus curved. So explore organic or curved lines versus straight or geometric lines to communicate different moods. For example, straight lines can convey order, while curved lines suggest fluidity. Geometric shapes, use basic shapes, circles, squares, triangles to anchor your design. Consider repetition and pattern to create rhythm. So creating a block of squares or a row of circles will create repetition as well as a pattern. And then rhythm. Play with proportion by making certain shapes larger or smaller, creating contrast to guide the viewer's eye. Principles and elements of design. Balance. Ensure your composition feels balanced, either symmetrically or asymmetrically. Unity. Ensure all elements feel connected, creating a cohesive design. So again, it may seem like you're kind of just throwing things on the page, but they should have some relation to each other on the page. And then negative space, use empty spaces to enhance the simplicity and focus on key elements. So, you can have a big area of negative space somewhere in your design, but again, that should flow based on how you want the viewer's eye to move through the page or through the poster. That negative space should be strategic and help you with the hierarchy, the flow of your design. Okay, and then step 5, refining. Polish your design by refining composition, spacing, and alignment. So spacing and proximity, ensure there is adequate space between the elements. Overcrowding shapes or lines can make the design feel chaotic. Now, if you're kind of going for that chaotic feel, that's okay, but it should be done, not kind of, like I said, just throwing stuff on the page. You're arranging things to make it feel kind of chaotic. Use your negative space to strategically emphasize simplicity and focus. Alignment, make sure lines and shapes align properly. Poor alignment can disrupt the flow and balance. Check that elements are in visual harmony. Balance and rhythm. review your poster's overall visual weight. So ask yourself, does the design have a sense of balance or flow? Are the proportions of shapes and lines creating rhythmic flow? Get feedback. You will be posting the video. You will be posting your poster to the discussion board. And I'm going to set that up. So once you're working on it before the due date, if you want to post it to the discussion board to get some feedback, and if you also want to send it to me and I can give you some feedback, or submit it to the assignment page and I can give you some feedback on it before the due date. And that way you can do some adjustment to it. I also allow you to upload the assignment. If you're not completely finished with it, go ahead and upload it to the assignment page before, if it's real close to the due date and you're not quite done with it, go ahead and submit it to the assignment page. That way I know that you've been working on it, and then I can give you some feedback, and then you can go back in and adjust anything that you worked on based on my suggestions. And that's how I would like for all of the assignments. If you don't feel that you're going to get the assignment done on time, but you have some of it done, please submit it to the assignment page. That way I know that you're working on it, you're trying, and then I can, like I said, give you some feedback on the assignment, and then you can go back and adjust things, or finish it up and then resubmit it. So you have multiple chances to submit your assignments. I don't close the assignments for that reason, so that you can go back in and adjust things if need be. Okay, so that's part of the feedback. Submit your assignment, submit what you have to the assignment page, and then we can go back and forth with suggestions or adjustments. Okay. And then finally for submitting, you're going to save the document with your first and last name and minimalist poster. Save the file as press quality PDF. And then you're going to export the file as a PNG or JPEG to post to the discussion board. And again, you're going to get feedback from your fellow students on that discussion board, and you're going to comment on your fellow students' work as well. Double check that all elements are crisp and properly aligned. Ensure that there are no stray lines or unintentional elements, and verify that the design's overall cleanliness and polished. And then submit the Illustrator file and the PDF to this assignment page. Okay. So you're going to submit the Illustrator file and the PDF to this assignment page, and then the PNG or the JPEG you're going to post to the discussion board. Okay. And then these are the graphic design terms and concepts used in this assignment. A line, a shape, a negative space, contrast, balance, hierarchy, unity, proportion, and rhythm. And then here is the grading rubric. So it's worth 50 points. And so this is how you will achieve all the various, 50 points, 45 to 50 points based on this criteria. And then good, fair, needs improvements, and each of those sections, the point value for each of those sections. Okay. All right, so that's the overview of the assignment. So you're going to research posters, minimalistic design, take some screenshots of examples. And again, you're going to start building like an inspiration folder for this, and then future projects. In this class, we're going to do this with every assignment. figure out a theme for your poster. And as you're researching other posters, you'll find, you'll kind of come up with a theme based on some of those other examples that you'll find. And these are just some possible concepts. You may come up with something else on your own. You're going to create some sketches, preferably on paper, to get your ideas down, and then you're going to translate those ideas onto the computer. And then setting up the document in Illustrator, and I'm going to do a separate video on that. And then how to start designing, starting with lines, moving to shapes, and then thinking about your balance, unity, and negative space. And then think about your spacing and proximity, alignment, balance, and rhythm. And then finally getting some feedback, again, posting it to the discussion board or to the assignment page to get feedback from me. And again, turn your assignments in, even if you know you're not 100% completed with them, turn them in so that I know that you're working on them and you get some credit for it. And then you can go back and refine it and finish it and then get the full points for the assignment. And then how to save it and export it. And then again, the terms and concepts that are used, and then the grading rubric for the assignment. Okay. So I will be recording another video for the setting up and then kind of working through ones that I have, thumbnails that I have completed. Okay. All right. And again, if there's any questions on any of this video before I move into the next section, before you review the next section or the next video, go ahead and email me. But I would prefer that you watch all 3 of the videos, or the 2 videos for this assignment. And then if you have questions, then you can ask me. Okay, if you're not, you need clarification on anything. Okay, so stay tuned for part 2 of the assignment video.